back. Sorry for that momentary pause. It wouldn't have been a second pause for you. It wouldn't have even been a second.
It wouldn't.
But we had caught and switch. Can you show we have this big new thing there?
Whoa.
Oh, what's?
Oh, it's too big.
But Radek's actually behind it. And
come out from it.
Can
It's so big,
That's Radek.
it's so big, it's hiding Radek.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how massive it is.
So we actually had to, quickly install a new everything, and we're back.
Yeah. So you were telling us about the music in the pub and how you.
Oh yeah.
How Barbara became Ireland's foremost Shannon singer.
I did.
The music was going through you.
And early talent.
Sorry,
I have no idea what
minimalism.
Don't mind him for a minute.
She's a fabulous singer.
No, I can't sing at all. But yeah, we had like Christy Moore used to sing in our pub, and we had
the Pecker
Dun and Mixie and Judge.
Where did the Pecker Dun get that name? What's the Pecker? The Peck thing?
What's his name?
He was an itinerant singer, and he used to go around for all the pubs in Ireland. He was very well known, actually. Yeah, he was well known nationwide.
I just made a Pecker joke and nobody noticed.
What was your Pecker joke?
No, it's all right. It's past the moment.
If you want to rewind to watch Haley's joke.
But it's funny, in the pub then, and in the 70s, women coming in wouldn't be served. Women on their own, not coming in with their husband. It just wasn't. I mean,
you weren't allowed to get hammered on your own if you were female.
You wouldn't even be served. I mean, if two women came in, well, first of all, they wouldn't. They'd know better.
Yeah.
But it was mostly men, and at the weekend, women would come in with their husband, and that was that was it. Some pubs had snugs, we didn't, and then they had a lounge. They put in a lounge part of the bar, and that was where you'd put the women at the weekend, but the men would still be in the bar.
Yeah, they'd be up. I've seen like old footage and stuff where the men would be sitting up at the bar, like not making any sense, talking nonsense.
Yeah.
And then you just see in the background, just like a group of women sort of sitting there and wouldn't even be talking to each other, like just look like
Why was that?
they're waiting.
Pardon?
Why was that?
Just women were, well, first of all, they probably weren't economically independent. And I think the idea was that they shouldn't be spending their housekeeping money on drink, whereas it was okay for the men, obviously.
That's mad.
It was just a way of thinking it. I mean, women in the 70s were like back 100 years, really.
Yeah,
I mean, the idea that you'd give up your job because you got married. So
the
marriage bar, that only went in
the 80s.
The 80s. Yeah.
What would your dad say if two women arrived into the pub?
Just wouldn't serve them. Yeah, he wouldn't
That's
serve
mad.
them. Yeah, and then you'd only be served a glass of Guinness with a blackberry cordial or something like that. You wouldn't get a pint. Okay. Yeah, it was different times. Yeah, women had harder lives then. They really did.
Yeah,
and not as much choice as say women now.
Yeah, definitely. That's 100%.
Yeah, like if you could only get Guinness, that's no choice at all. I don't drink Guinness.
Yeah.
Then you went to school in the Ursuline, did you?
I did. Yeah, I had a great experience in the Ursuline. I thought we were just so lucky. I mean, like country children got a really, we got a great education, but I think the nuns had a great view of the world. I think they were very outward looking, and I think they trained us to be whatever we wanted to be. The idea was we were always told you can be whatever you want to be if you work hard enough, and I would still think that's true.
You would have learned that from the nuns.
Yeah, from the nuns. Cool. Yeah, we had a great experience, and
cool.
It was a fun place to be, and I think as well, probably for girls growing up in the 80s, I would have left Thurles in 83. I left school in 83, and it was a lot easier then. There was no Instagram, there was no social media. Nobody really had any money, so you never met your friends and said, "Oh, I like what you're wearing," because you were wearing what you were wearing every day for the last 100 times you met them. No, it wasn't makeup. It was just a much kind of a simpler life. We were in the Girl Guides until probably 16, it was it was a different
you used to be down your house and you'd be heading off to guides. Your mother had something to do with that, didn't she?
Yeah, my mother, the guides came into Thurles probably in the 70s, and at the time the idea was that Girl Guides should come into Thurles, and the Archbishop only wanted Catholic Girl Guides of Ireland, whereas a few women, including my mother, felt it should be Catholic and Protestants. It should be open to both. And they actually had to go down and petition the Archbishop to allow both. Yeah, and like he was a good man. It was just the way people thought at the time.
Yeah.
It really was. We just weren't assimilated at all. There was nobody of any other nationality living in Thurles.
Definitely.
Actually, I remember you petitioned the bishop as well. Remember?
Did you?
Yeah.
I did.
What did you?
Because I wanted to be an altar girl, and it wasn't any sense of piety at all. It's my brothers were younger than me, and they used to do weddings and funerals and get £1 for it. Particularly weddings on a Saturday, they get £1 going home. I just think, God, this was a much easier way than stacking shelves in the LNN, where you get like 50 pence an hour. So my granny was a very religious woman, and I said to her that we should be allowed to be altar girls. So she set up a meeting with the bishop, and I went down, and he started explaining canon law to me, but I had absolutely no interest. All I wanted was the £1. I had no interest in canon law, but they actually didn't happen then. And it was years later before they actually came in. What age am I now?
What age were you then? When you?
When I was probably about 9 or 10.
That's funny. That's class. Fair play.
Yeah,
And you wrecked the place.
I did. Yeah. Trashed his gaff. Yeah. But my granny was great like that as well. Like she was quite a strict woman, wasn't she, Hugh? But she was very fair like that. And she used to say, "Look, don't be giving out. Do something about it." And I think that's a great lesson to give kids. Do you know that it was you sort it out? And
I don't want to hear about it.
yeah, which is true though. It is true. Don't be giving out, because loads of people still you meet them and Jesus, you cross the road to avoid them because they're giving out about so many things, and yet they're not involved in their communities or anything.
You see a lot of that stuff when someone gives out about something about that the council should have done, when like it just isn't the council's job or something, and it's just like it's something that you could have done right there and then. It's not like you have to go and like it's like cost any money or anything like that. Like I seen an owl Mars bar on the ground or something like that. Like and then it's just like and it's ruined my life. But like if it actually ruined your life and you're actually affected by it, you would pick it up. That's the actual truth.
Yeah.
But there's obviously other stuff underneath and all that.
I think as well, we like growing up in a small town, you're involved in your community. You know, you're involved in whatever is going on. You're part of it. Like when we walked to school, you know, you'd know everybody to say hello to, and they'd know your name and you'd know theirs. And from that, you're involved in the organizations and, you know, whatever's going on. And I think that's a good way to be, because you're better off to be involved in helping rather than and I live in Dublin now, and I'd be very involved in my own community and, you know, helping out rather than kind of all the time saying, oh, I wish somebody do this or somebody do that.
What was Dublin like when you got to Dublin first, like going out and all that?
Going out was great crack. I loved it.
What made you move to Dublin? Because it sounds like you were quite kind of settled here, and like there were things you really liked about it.
It's funny, I always knew I wasn't going to settle here. I always knew that I was going to move. Well, I moved to Limerick first. I went to college and I did marketing. So that was the start. When I left school, I wanted to work in Arnott's, and I actually, as a trainee, and sure I thought I'd be going off to Paris buying, and then I realised no, I was actually still behind the counter like months later, that they actually didn't see my huge value. So then I ended up going to college. But and when I moved to Dublin, I think it was 87, and because I had done marketing and a lot of very South Dublin kids had done marketing, it was a different way of being. I thought they were like, it was like chalk and cheese. They spoke to each other in a different way. They used a different language. They used to say to each other, and where did you go to school? And it was obviously they were trying to place each other. And I used to think, why are they asking where I went to school? Because it's not even interesting to me, you know, so it was different. But it was the heyday of kind of Leeson Street and things like that. And I remember when I went first, like when I was in Dublin first, I heard about credit cards. Genie, I thought these were great. That you could just spend money and put it on a card. And I think in the first week I put £1,000 on my credit card.
What did you get with it?
I got a Louise Kennedy coat, which was obviously a necessity. And when I got my credit card bill, I could see Legs, you know, all these places, nightclubs in town. And I earned 7,000 a year at that stage, so 1,000 like was just cracked.
What stood out to you more when the credit cards came out or when the iPhone came out, touch phones? What do you remember more? Like,
well, the iPhones less, because credit cards was a bigger thing because it's just ready money, and you could travel and do all these fun things that you probably wouldn't have been able to do. Because I remember the first phones coming out that were like the bricks. Like I was going out with a guy and he used to carry one of those. So when the iPhone came, it wasn't that big a development. It wasn't that big a change.
That's why I find mad is that like that's why I always find mad how sort of quickly like adapted people came to the iPhone as if nothing happened, because just how quickly did, like, not just iPhones but touch phones came out, but like I was interested that the credit card was such a sort of staple, like it was a really sort of staple memory. But like when you think about like what the phones can do and all that, but I don't know, it's like all of a sudden people were just okay with the madness of technology. Like
I think credit cards were different because it was just ready money, and we would have grown up and you bought something if you had the money and you didn't if you didn't. And you know, I'd probably be a bit more like that now.
Yeah. And you saved up for
like some
it.
magic.
You did.
You put money aside for something that you wanted.
And you had that deferred pleasure. Whereas credit cards, you just, oh my God, we could go to like London for the weekend on that bus. Do you remember that bus you'd go and like...
So I remember you went off somewhere. Was it some bus thing with Mars bars or promotion? What was that about again?
I went to Glasgow. Yeah, I had gone to Guernsey for a summer working as a waitress. And we had made friends over there with this Glasgow crowd. They were gas. And one of them was 21 and he invited us over to his 21st. And like that, you kind of go, oh, yeah. And then you think, how are we going to get there? And this is before Ryanair. There was no... So Mars were doing a promotion that you could, if you bought 10 Mars bars, you got a free Stena ticket.
Okay.
So
Whoa.
Yeah. So
that's mad.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
So that's how we got there, and we thumbed. Like when you think of it, we got the ferry to Holyhead, and I know thumbed from Holyhead to Glasgow.
So did you buy 10 Mars bars?
Yeah. To get, wow. And then we'd no money for food, so when we were on the boat, we ate the 10 Mars bars. It's just oh, I've never eaten one since. I still wouldn't eat a Mars bar. But like that kind of thing of thumbing across England, getting into trucks and things like if my daughter did that now, I'd freak. You know, it was a carelessness and probably a naivety, really. You know, we'd never.
Scotland good, was it?
Oh, it was great crack. Yeah. They're very like Irish people and they're fun and, you know, it was mad. And then we had to like turn around after 2 or 3 days and thumb home. And the funny thing is I never told my parents to this day that I did that. Like, because at the time I was still a student, you know.
Hey, from your feeling, do you think it was more risky to hitch then than it is now, or what's your...
No, I actually don't think there's any more dangerous and bad people in the world. I think we're just more aware of it.
Yeah.
I think it was more in naivety, really, for us, and sort of taking people as you find them, which is actually a good way to be. Like, we didn't have and would you say the same, Hayley? We didn't have fear when we thumbed. It was only...
you didn't think of it. You assumed that everything would be all right until it wasn't. And then you'd be like, oh, now we have to manage this.
Yeah, it's kind of still the same.
Yeah, we would have hitched, like, New Zealand is easy to hitch anyway, but even in Australia, like, taking road trains up and down the country and stuff as well, like...
Yeah, and usually people who picked you up were on for the crack and the chat. They were sort of interested, and it kind of passed the journey for them as well. Exactly. So, like
Dara was actually filling in for Owen there behind the camera. Me and Dara have done, like, a lot of hitching and stuff like that, and everyone always picks us up, always says, like... oh, I only picked you up because I remember what it was like to hitch every time. It was literally everyone that picks you up used to hitch.
I know.
And I've never once felt threatened.
Yeah, and before Cavanagh started going from Dublin to Thurles, they were very cheap with the bus. But before that, you'd have to get the train. You might have no money. And you go out to the Naas Road and stand there. But there'd be loads of people out on a Friday evening, you know, and pick you up.
Myself and Dawn hitched across England, you know.
Did you?
Yeah, when I was 17 or 50 or whatever, I was in 50 or in. And I always pick people up because of that. So sorry, like we were supposed to go over to Portsmouth to look at the university there, and I had the money for the bus, and nobody gets a bus you hitch.
Of course.
Oh my God. Out in a shorts and t-shirt in a summer's day. We didn't arrive there till it was just after midnight when we arrived. we stood at the front of the university and he said, well, do you want to go there? I said, no, let's get out of here.
Yes, man.
We hitched back. We ended up sleeping on the side of the motorway.
Oh, you're joking,
black plastic bags,
Oh my God, if your mother and father knew that.
I remember falling asleep and thinking I'd been asleep for hours and it was only 5 minutes.
Oh, I hate that.
But I remember a guy picked us up from Mayo on the way back. He felt so sorry for us, so like literally shaking, getting into his car. There was frost on the ground. We're in shorts and t-shirts.
Good idea, don't
Was that the guy he bought you an old breakfast show?
I
think so. Yeah, that's
good. He bought us in for breakfast. He wouldn't take money.
Probably felt so sorry for you.
He worked for British Rail. I'll never forget him or his car with the heating.
It was like bliss.
It was,
yeah.
That's class.
It's funny that, but you'd meet crack people and fun and different kind of people. I think as well we were more open more years ago. Whereas now I think people are very much in their own kind of groove and their own.
Yeah.
People are more closed, I think, than maybe we
people
were.
People get their own identities. People kind of like define who they are much earlier on in life.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'm this, I want that, this is how I am, this is what I do, and that can happen like, you know, sort of 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead of kind of thinking, you know, you have a lot of years to do that.
Yeah. But when we left school, the thing was to get a job and you'd have that job for the rest of your life. Whereas now nobody does that. They don't even think like that.
It was a bit different in the UK. It was like, you do something for a bit and then you can go and retrain and do something. And even when I grew up sort of in the 80s and stuff, I was in school, like, it was a lot more open than that.
Yeah.
But Dublin was live with music when you arrived, wasn't it? 87.
It was, it was great crack, the Pink Elephant, all those places. And I shared a house. It was a real country girl, with 3 other girls in Rathmines in a house. And
Rathmines is a cool area, actually.
I remember we were babysat up there when the parents went off to some concert or something. With the 3 girls.
It was great crack. And one of them, I actually never met them before I moved in with them. And like that was kind of thing you did then. And now you wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
And we're still, I did interview, And they like, one of them was from Gertnahu, Carmel Lanigan. But the 4 of us are still really close friends, and we've kept up the friendship over all the years.
That's really
and like that, it was just more... I don't think we took anything really seriously. It was just, sure, if it didn't work out, you'd move on, whereas it didn't have to be forever or, there was no big commitment. You just, and like, again, your parents weren't involved, like, you kind of just told them, oh, this is where I'm living now. Whereas I think parents overmanage their kids now with all of those kind of things. And when you hear a lot of people saying, oh, I can't move out of home because I don't have the money, like, we lived in kips, like really kips, like we lived in a place in Rathmines and we thought, God, we got read one over in the landlord because it was so cheap, until we heard it was right beside the Swan Centre and the clock went off every 15 minutes for 24 hours. But it wasn't just one beat, it was 24 beats every quarter of an hour. And we thought, maybe this is why the rent was so cheap. And we lived in dives, whereas now a lot of people, like my own daughter's age, they want to move into like a polished apartment whereas we didn't think like that. We were just, it was only the crack.
You didn't think about the state of it. You just thought about how much it cost. And if you got it cheap, great, you just tolerated however it was. Yeah,
and it was more about the freedom and the living on your own and who you could invite in. And
I think when you don't focus on things, it sort of just works out. Like even I'd have a source of income now, but I don't feel like I don't feel like my life is like any expansively different to the time. And like me and Dara, we were just like, I don't know, at times we're like, for example, we could be like squatting in places or just like, just mad stuff, like camping out in fields and stuff.
And sugar factory.
But I still ate food, I still drank, and I was still having the crack, and I don't know what, like, I think as you change, I don't know what it is. It is mad though. Like it's like,
I think if you don't have those really fun years in your early 20s, you really miss out on life, because I think you're probably too old to be starting that in your 50s or whatever. But because when you have kids and you're more grounded to home and you have to be at home for meal times and you have to do things, like there's some days and you'd be peeling the potatoes and you think, Jesus, do you remember we did this or did that? And it's not that you're living in the past, but unless you've had that sort of mad few years and fun, just fun. It wasn't anything sinister, but it was just fun and freedom, really.
Dublin was full of bands and stuff then, wasn't it? Like, who would you see?
It was. You would.
Ballet and all
it was Def Leppard and Joe Elliott. He actually was in Rathmines a lot, and like it was Bad Bob's was the time. That was the big cool club that all kind of country people in Dublin went to, because it was like 3 floors of different bands and so it was great crack, all right. Yeah.
Did you ever see Duran Duran there?
No, I didn't.
Shame.
Yeah.
Did they live
lucky?
Huh? Did they live in Dublin?
No, I just thought they might have played, because that was like the 80s was there.
But loads of them moved over because of some tax rule, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. A lot of them moved over. Simple Minds moved to Dublin at some stage, didn't they?
Duran moved, I think it was Switzerland. Different of them lived in.
They all got to
we probably weren't moving in those circles where you'd be in the places they'd be in.
Yeah. And so are you at the moment doing work with TV3? Is that?
Yeah.
What do you do with TV3 then?
I work in PR, so a lot of my clients are fashion brands. So I do the fashion on Ireland AM.
Okay, right. Yeah. Wait, did we talk about this before?
Did we? What?
No. Why? Okay, thank God. I know. Because when it stopped,
Kieran stoned again, so he's not quite sure. No, that was all in your head.
All the time.
It's all in my head.
No, we didn't talk about this.
Okay. What's it like working with TV3? And I've always actually liked that.
I've done it for about 10 years. It's great. I love it because it's fun.
It seems like there's good people behind it, like
really good people.
Even watching it, you always tell like there just seems like an authentic energy behind it that's still there for years.
Yeah, and like the presenters now are Karen Coster and Tommy Bowe and Alan, and they are as nice behind the scenes. Seriously, I'm not just saying that they actually are on screen, because it's not always true. And sometimes, people can be all smiles for the camera, but they're actually horrible. But they're really chatty and really friendly and really nice.
Don't you think it's so obvious when the other TV the presenters you see on those American talk shows, like when people are shocked that these people were bad behind camera, I always feel like you can tell when a smile is real and stuff so easy. But you can you can tell I'd say it's good crack up there, like,
and it makes for a better show because we've all fun kind of behind the scenes and like say I'd be one contributor on, but there could be like Catherine Layden or Edward doing the cooking and Anya Toner doing the books, and we all have crack behind the scene.
Yeah.
Do you get to eat any of that stuff that's cooked?
Yeah.
No way.
We do. We do.
Oh,
but it's too early in the morning though. It's like a lamb curry at 9 o'clock and you kind of think, oh no, I actually couldn't. So if it's desserty stuff, I'd eat it.
It's all done live, is it?
It's all done live, and they usually bring one or two that they've made already in case something goes wrong. Okay. But the floor staff, like Derek is the floor manager, they wolf into it because you see they're all up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So by the time 9 o'clock comes, they've been on their feet a lot. And then there's like I've met Seamus Callanan up there, like loads of.
How did you get into doing that? Because your background was marketing, like that was your college degree.
Yeah, I suppose because I had specialised very early on because I had worked. I worked in a clothing company in my first job out of college. So then I had an interest in clothes and that business. So I went into clothing business, and a client of mine, when Ireland AM started, actually Anne-Marie Gannon had the idea of doing a fashion segment, and they just asked me would I do it. So I'm actually the longest one there now. I'm doing it 10 years. So and like that, I never thought anything of it. I never was nervous. I just thought, sure, it's only talking about clothes. It's not exactly like splitting the atom. How hard can it be? And it's not. It's just, it's common sense kind of chat. So, and I enjoy it. It's fun. And I'm there so long now that the whole place is kind of, we know them so well that it's just part of, we're all like really good colleagues. And
Our TV3, like I'm not sure, like 'cause I haven't seen it now. Like myself, I haven't looked up or anything like that. Doing any trying to like diversify when it comes to like more internet content or anything like that going forward, or
no? RTE are much better because they'd have much bigger budgets. They are much better with the player.
They have bigger budgets, but I'm not gonna lie, they're not doing a good job at it.
Oh well,
they're not.
Yeah,
but they have money. I get that. You need the money. Yeah,
they do have more money. Whereas Virgin, it's different because they're not hugely active, on their play.
Okay, right.
I don't really know why, but yeah, you're right. They're not.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel I definitely. How many Irish channels are there even now on TV? Would you know?
Yeah,
you could always count them on a hand.
1, 2, and Virgin.
And it never grew really past that.
No, it never did. It's a very expensive business to get into.
TG Carr, is that still going?
TG Carr, of course.
Right.
Yeah, over in the West.
They're actually all right, aren't they?
They are. They're really good.
Yeah,
because if you think on TG Carr, like they make their own content, and if you look at somebody like Hector, like he was the first one to do, what was it, Hanging with Hector, and all these travel programs, they are brilliant.
They're
like
really
good content. And like
is that the Irish channel?
It's the Irish channel. Okay. So it's expensive. Like it's expensive to produce content.
Do they only do stuff in Irish?
Yeah. Only Irish. Yeah. I still can't believe RTE have never done a breakfast program. Like to me, it's because of the unions.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they haven't do, and they've such an opportunity.
You did RTE, did you before?
I did the Today Show for a year. Yeah,
doing the same kind of thing, like the clothes
kind of
and
thing.
stuff.
Yeah. I did a makeover on it, and it wrecked my head because people would send in a picture. And you'd go and you talk to them first of all, and the first problem was, well, now I love a makeover, but I don't wear skirts and I only wear blue, and you're kind of thinking, No, because the reason you want a makeover is to get a different look. And the other one was they'd send you a picture, but when you'd meet them, the picture was 12 years old and they were a completely different size. So it would wreck your head. They're really hard to do. Yeah. But I did it for a year and I enjoyed it. You know, it was fun. But you're not allowed to do both. You're not allowed to do RT and Virgin.
My mum she was a hairdresser for a while, and like people used to bring in like pictures of like Jennifer Aniston and be like, "Can you cut my hair?" I just no, I can't.
I'd be in Hollywood
not
if
a plastic surgeon. I don't do that.
And you won't look like Jennifer Aniston because that's the premise, isn't it? Yeah, I look like Jennifer Aniston when I have that
haircut.
And she has that lovely little heart-shaped face, and you don't.
And then they'd be pissed off, like leaving the shop, like that woman didn't make me look like Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's going to be able to do that for you.
I know. The one I get asked on that all the time is, how do I become a model? And like they're 5'2", and you think,
really? Why? Is that actually because you have to be tall, is it?
Oh yeah, you'd have to be at least 5'9".
Oh shit.
Yeah. Because to sell clothes, they need to have that longer silhouette. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is always like that.
Yeah, and it's a really hard job. I don't know why so many people want their daughters to be models, because it actually is a really, like, you are working. And I never understand child models. I really don't, because it's a day on set and it's really hard work. Like good models, there's a reason they get paid well, because you're under all those lights and you know, you're constantly moving and selling. You know, it's tough.
Like all the child pageant things and stuff, like what do you think of them? Are they're very taxing?
Child exploitation. And giving kids all the wrong messages on how they look is any relationship to who they are as people. No, I think they're desperate. I think they should actually be banned. Yeah.
Who was it? Oh yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen did. Was Sacha Baron Cohen did? He did like an interview, or he did like a thing for his new Borat movie. Where it was in Bruno, and he did like he had like interviewed, like set up a pageant thing like that for interviews, and started saying mad things like, "Is it okay if I dress your child as Hitler?" And the mother is like, and we stick your child up on a crucifix, and you're like, do whatever you want, and then we give him cyanide, and like. Yeah, whatever, and it's crazy.
I know.
And it's a real interview.
It's kind of like reflected glory, though, for the mothers, I think, because it couldn't be. It's not coming from the children. It's really not.
The kids don't want to drink cyanide.
No, and I've been on sets with child models, and they're crying, and the mother saying, "Come on, you can do it, and you're going, "Oh God!" Like it's
just horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's such a weird. I can't ever imagine doing that.
I don't either, and I also think all these people putting up their children modeling on Instagram and Facebook, I just think it's like, let the kids be kids. They should be out playing in a field rather than putting on 6 costume changes while lights change and everything.
Mad,
it's just
it's great if you want to take photos of your kids, but costume changes for Instagram and stuff is mad. Or I suppose each, but I wouldn't. But like, do you think what's that like? Is that like the parents living out their dreams or something? I don't know. Vicariously.
I think it is.
Bored.
Yeah, that's
parents
probably
a job.
That's fair as well. I start more sympathy then, or sort of understanding, not sympathy.
You do stuff as well with like clothes and print media and all that kind of stuff, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I do photo shoots. Yeah, because like my job would be to build a brand, you know, a fashion brand, and I work for a lot of, I'd say about 7 Irish companies, and the idea is to raise awareness of the brand in the media. So I would do photo shoots and negotiate with the press that the photo shoot would appear in, you know, publications like the Irish Times, Sunday Life magazine, those kind of things. So, and again, it's all about sales. Like my job is getting sales for brands, so that they would sell their product, and the Irish people would become aware of their brands.
Yeah.
Is that stuff measurable now? Can you say like, okay, you know how you can, I suppose, can you?
Oh yeah, you can see it. I mean, you can see the sales like almost on the day. Like if it's a really good one, like their website will crash with all the people buying, and it would be the awareness as well through the trade. So if they're a wholesaler, that shops would be looking to stock their brand because of the increased awareness, and people would be going into the shop and saying, "Do you remember that piece that was in?" Like the Tipperary Star even.
What way are brands changing like nowadays? Because everything's becoming a lot more kind of eco-conscious and sort of aware around things. Do you see that in the work you do?
I do. I think though there's a lot more lip service paid to it. I think it's kind of catching up with that. I think we've talked about that for the last probably 10 years, but actually it's kind of now
Now
it's
people
actually happening.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if you look at responsibility, like this brands that get a really bad press, like Pennies, wouldn't be as bad as brands like Marks and Spencer's, who take all their cotton from Uzbekistan, where they bleach the rivers. So, you know,
people just assume, they don't actually look into things.
Exactly.
Like,
if you read those reports,
like, I'll never say like whether Pennies is good, because like fast fashion, but people are so quick to paint every industry or every collective or every type of genre or whatever in life with the one brush when you look into it. Like,
the big change in, say, my career is that nobody manufactures in Ireland anymore, and I think that's a really terrible thing. Because when I started work first, I worked in a company in Crumlin called Debenitz, and they supplied Dunn Stores with all of their children's wear, and they had 70 machinists working there 5 days a week. And for local women, they were skilled, they had their jobs, they had their money. That's all gone to China now, and that is a really pity. So there isn't even sewing machines in Ireland. Like Cork Street in Dublin was full of one factory after the next, and now there isn't even one in the whole country. And I think that's a real shame, because those skills are lost now. Because it used to be a mother'd work there, then her daughter'd come in, and you know,
my mum's a dressmaker.
Is she?
She's 72.
Mum's a very skilled
she still
woman.
Works about 12 hours a day.
Does she?
She's got her own. Doing, but she's got loads of customers. Like, people love it.
Yeah, because it's unusual now. You know what I mean?
Whenever they need to, like, the three of them rent the space, and whenever they need somebody else, they struggle to get somebody because people don't know the job.
They don't
anymore.
have the skills, overlocking and all those basic skills. But it's a pity we don't have that, and that, I think, is a problem now. Funny enough, in the north of England now, the government, because of the miners, the English government has put huge work into putting factories back in the north of England, and a lot of Irish manufacturers are now sampling from the north of England. So those factories are getting more work, but we need to do that, I think, in Ireland. It's a pity that we don't.
What is it? So what do we need? Is it like cotton? Like, do we need cotton sort of, like, does the stuff need to be grown here, the materials, or you're talking about, like, are we talking about like for Ireland to be able to do, or manufacturing?
To manufacture here, that you know, even if you bring in your fabrics, that you would. And like the factory that I worked in, they knit their own jersey, you know, and again, you'd all of that skill. That's all lost. And, you know, manufacturing jobs would be the very least, because there are people who would love those jobs and would have there's dignity in work. It's much better to have people working, I think, than not.
Doesn't hemp grow well in Ireland?
Yeah, it does. I was actually going to talk about that. Like, it does, because I looked into, like, we were setting up a clothing brand stuff, and like just like really like looking into like down the line, like 5 years or 10 years, 5 years time.
2 years time.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks you.
2 years time.
I don't like having. You're not allowed to have confidence in front of people.
Get on with it. You're a big lazy yoke.
But anyway, like, so like, there's like there's a massive like sort of an opportunity I had like sort of came across like for clothing and stuff. Obviously it's not to do with fast fashion, because making like clothing out of hemp is like a bit more of a process and stuff like that. But I was actually like came across like a load of sort of investors looking to set up hemp. They're looking to buy land to grow hemp in Ireland, but they only needed like the hemp. I'm not sure I can't remember what their purpose was for. Was it just for the CBD or whatever? Not for CBD. I can't remember what it was anyway. They just wanted like the leaf, and they didn't want like the stems and stuff, but like that was the stuff you used to make the thing. So basically I'd came across like these just fucking whatever it was, wherever I came across it, and it was saying that they pulled out because they had nothing to do with the stems. And I was like, oh, that'd been perfect. Like that's like you know, it's all about like using the stuff and like working with people. Like if we had, obviously I can't just reach out to them now and be like, hey, because we haven't like set up, but like down the line, if we were established as a thing, whatever, it'd been so easy to reach out with them and be like, oh yeah, we could take that and we could work with that. Like that is one way of even doing it. And I do think the world will get to a stage where it will be back to manufacturing. Obviously, the growing is a bit more complex.
But Ireland is beneficial for growing, isn't it, on the hemp?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's I know people who have like hemp.
There was a thing I read an article about a bit of a gold rush as well on the shares in these hemp companies, CBD companies.
Because it's really in America as well. But I mean, we would have like wool. Like if you look at companies like McGee and a lot of companies, Foxford, like our skill in manufacturing and weaving cloth is unbelievable, and it's a pity that we're not developing that more, like linen in Belfast. Like we have a huge history of.
Is Donegal tweed not made in Donegal anymore, is it, or what? I don't know.
No, it is.
Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah, it is. They have a mill up there.
Do you ever see bog cotton? I came across that in my research.
Yeah.
People, I don't know. I came across. I only came across it. You can.
Yeah.
I was because I was trying to see if you can grow cotton in Ireland for that type of
because
stuff.
the bogs are now left back to their natural
state. I was reading about there was very little obviously research like online anyway about making stuff out of bog cotton. You might find like older people with information but I don't know. What I was reading about it's definitely not as easier. There's a certain type of cotton that like all the fast fashion stuff is made with that's sort of harder to grow in Ireland.
But you know, bog cotton sounds like some sort of slang for turf.
Get myself some
but there's loads of really interesting people, and there's a company in Kinsale, and they're making like bags out of old sails.
No way, that's cool.
There's all that junk couture, the junk
couture in the schools.
Mad. The stuff that they make from that
unbelievable.
Is incredible.
Yeah, but there's a whole load of companies who are recycling fabrics and like Stone Chat Jewelers. She'll bring in your old gold, she'll melt it down and design something new. Like there's a lot of very talented designers who are like, if you find them, if you work hard enough, you'll find them. Like they don't have big budgets to publicize themselves. But if you are interested in sustainability and reusing and remaking, there is a lot of like smart designers around. There's a few in Kilkenny and milliners, and they're using and recycling old fabrics into new.
Were you ever like a publicist for an individual or anything, like any sort of like as in as in like their sort of agent sort of thing, not their agent, but like a publicist, like sort of solely for one, like
for individual designers,
some artist, or was it for designers?
Okay, an interesting one I'm doing now is Laura Weber. You know Laura Weber in New York?
I'm not sure. The name's familiar though.
She made the inauguration coat. She designed the designers for she embroidered and embellished the designer coat for Dr. Biden for her inauguration coat. She's an Irish girl in New York, so I'm doing her. Another New York based designer but Irish is Jacqueline Quinn, who bought the sketches, the Jacqueline Kennedy sketches of the White House, and made a new collection based on those. So I do both of their PR. I do Paula Roan, who makes gloves. She makes designs and makes leather gloves, and
that's very niche. That's a very specific.
Yeah, but she's unbelievable. She's in the Westbury Mall, and she, like Madonna, wore her gloves on her latest videos and albums. Princess Charlene of Monaco, Martin Scorsese, Richard E. Grant. Like she has a client list.
It's all the one pair of gloves they're passing around, or
that's like the old Japanese
we have Martin Scorsese's
like
gloves.
You learn one thing and you do it and do it and do it.
Yeah,
until you're an absolute master of it, like the old samurai swords.
That's
and stuff. And then everybody.
Bruce Lee. He's like master. Master kicks.
I've been at her factory, and it's a family-run factory. I mean, it's not even a factory, but the women are hand sewing, like your mum would be doing.
Where is it?
You know,
Dublin.
No, in Italy.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so as a PR, like just for people who mightn't actually understand, like so to say you're PR for Laura Weber, what does your job consist of? Are you reaching out to people on her behalf? Or
My job really is to get sales for her. That's the ultimate job. And so it's really to create awareness of her work in the media, so that people will read that and think, oh, I need to have one of her dresses, or she's in athleisure wear range. That's what I was publicising. So we got her into Sunday Life magazine. So we got 3 pages in Life. And like if you think of it, like a page advertising in Life magazine is about 19 grand.
Wow.
So a page. So, you know, if you get somebody like me to do a shoot and get it placed, that's really good value for the brands.
That's insane.
So,
that's really cool.
So
like just throughout your career, have you any example where you like can think of where there was like a massive amount of creative, where you're in a situation where you had to think on your feet and there was like sort of a creative thought process, or maybe it wasn't even like a situation but more of like a more creative way of marketing or something that like...
Oh yeah, but you have to do that all the time because even COVID, you know, because the shops closed, and all of my clients would be shops basically. So it's to try and create business for them online, and so it's, you know, to make their Instagram better, to make their website better, to And it's a collaborative process. You know, there'd be a few of us together and we'd sort of go, well, do we need a better shoot? Do we need more videos? Yeah. So yeah. And again, it's all about the sales. So yeah, we've had to react very quickly to COVID. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And you can't just marketing as well, it's constantly evolving. You can't sort of say, well, this is the way we did it last year, so we'll do that again, you know.
Yeah.
Like even 10 years ago I started doing shoots in Europe for brands where we would go over and I'd bring like 3 of my brands and we'd shoot 3 days, one day after next, and have completely different locations.
Yeah.
But that would make them more attractive for the papers to place them, because you're here on, like, we were in Venice. And like we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So as the sun rose, we had a model out on St. Mark's Square before all the, the hawkers and the guys came along with their stuff. So we had this clear view of St. Mark's Square,
That's really cool.
Is it really competitive because of that? Because you have to stay kind of like one step ahead, really. And
it is, I suppose, in that, every season is a blank sheet. So when I started first, it was 2 seasons, January and July, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Whereas now, because I do brands like iClothing, they have a new drop every week. So it's to constantly keep them in the public eye.
Yeah.
While having a new story every week, you couldn't do it. So they're constantly shooting and constantly dropping stories about them.
That's nice.
So it's like what Hugh and I have to do for Kieran, is keep him in the public eye. Constantly.
I could
community service.
There's probably things I'd say that get me in trouble. That I need like a publicist. Is there anything, probably this kind of question kind of might sort of come from that getting in trouble, so I don't want to get you in trouble, so don't say it and you can't say. Is there did you ever like experience like with artists and so, like not artists but in that industry anyway, the creative entertainment industry, do you ever experience some mad like green room stuff, like any
divas,
green
M&Ms or roast turtle or
well, of course you do, because like I'm doing this for I don't know, 30 years now. I'm working for myself for 30 years. You see the best in people and you see the worst in people. But having said that, 98% of times Irish people and people I work with are sound as a pound. They really are. Just there's no kind of nonsense. But you do meet the odd one.
What are the English
you do.
Like?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't work with. Although I did Littlewoods.
Barbara's a Republican.
You did Littlewoods.
Yeah. But like people generally are. They just want to get the job done and money in. But you do meet, like in every business, you'll meet the odd idiot, and you give them a fool's pardon, really, because everybody's working hard, and here you have somebody who thinks they're not part of it.
I used to think when growing up, you hear that stuff, that they were all very like that. A lot, like I'm talking about global celebrities or whatever, were very like, aren't they very picky, like looking for stuff? But then I started to like hear loads of reasons why they ask for things and stuff, and I was like, I kind of understand sometimes that, like, I don't know, like to the average onlooker, it's very like pretentious and stuff. But like, I heard stuff like. It was either Taylor Swift or Leonardo DiCaprio. I always get them confused, but it was either one of them that were
everybody does.
But they were one of them like that wanted like their dressing room and would have like their certain furniture that they had when they were like younger or something that allowed them to get. And then I was like, and they wanted this certain type of mirror and this certain type of like desk and all this furniture had to be carried around. And then so there's 2 different things. One of them was because it reminded them at a certain time, but the more common one is that it's comfortability, to like that they're not feeling like they're in this new place every time.
Yeah.
And at first you kind of look at that and you think, well, that's very pretentious. They want a certain desk but then I was like, whoa, like that's their life and they're moving around all the time. I actually think they're right.
But more importantly than that, I would say, Kieran, now I don't deal with people like them, that level, but you would deal with Irish celebrities, but they're actually right, because their name is their brand.
Exactly.
And if you think of the amount of money they make from their social media and for every post, I think people forget that every post they do that's an ad, like they're getting between 150 and 1,000 euros for that. So if they're not minding their brand and presenting themselves all the time in a certain way, and if they're working with people that are less than professional, they actually are right, because that's their livelihood. So
I absolutely agree.
I don't think that that's anything in terms of diva. That's them saying this is.
Yeah, they're like they've built something. whether it was through luck or they've actually hard work. A lot of time, most time it's hard work. 99% of the time it actually is, and everyone thinks it's luck. But people just see their posts and stuff and don't realize like what actually goes on behind the scenes. And these people do work hard.
Yeah,
like
they do.
actors,
and the big ones have business managers who are also causing the shots,
and
calling the shots
too,
and sort of, you know, pushing their business.
Yeah. Are you seeing people now on Instagram and stuff coming up, like, you know, building their own brands and all that?
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Whole retail has changed. You know, when you think of it, and you go back to say my own childhood where we lived over the shop, that model is gone. I mean, even the big multiples are hugely, like Debenhams, all of those. Unless you're very either niche or you're very, you know, you're really good at what you do for a certain target market. Yeah. But the Instagrammers are really such great value. And for manufacturers, say if you have somebody like, say, Holly Carpenter, she has 100,000 followers on her Instagram page. Well, the Irish Independent would sell about 80,000 magazines or papers every day. So you've already 20,000 in the bag. They're mostly women. They're mostly interested in fashion and beauty. So, you know, for everyone who buys the Independent, there might be farmers in Kerry who'd never go to buy a dress or a sun cream or whatever. Whereas Holly is...
Some of them might.
Yeah, okay.
You're being very presumptuous,
Let's be very
Barbara.
inclusive here. But Holly is a sure thing. Yeah. So... It is, and what I see the difference now is that within 5 years they've realised, not Holly, I'm not talking about her in particular, but Instagrammers, they have now realised the value of their own brand and they're bringing out their own ranges. Yeah. So they're bypassing retail altogether, and the internet has become like so much more important.
Like Wax streetwear, is it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, shout out to Wax.
Yeah.
You've been following that, I see, Barbara.
Their success, yeah. So, it is the way to go, and if you think... The problem is that if you are online, you have to promote it and sell it. It's like that, you know, your online is just your shop window. So but if you look at a shop and you're paying staff, you're paying light, you're paying rates, you're paying heat, you're paying... And you can suddenly go online and you're making money.
I think the age, like what's really cool is like the age of personality, which wasn't before. Like even talking about Leonardo DiCaprio and Taylor Swift and stuff, they can't actually sell the amount of T-shirts that a YouTuber is selling. So if DiCaprio could try and set up, he's probably one of the most famous people in the world right now anyway. He couldn't actually just come out with T-shirts saying Leonardo DiCaprio with his name on it, but some YouTuber can, and that YouTuber would make millions. But no one's going to buy a Leonardo DiCaprio T-shirt because whatever is exclusive, but that side of Hollywood, it's really interesting to see because it's so hidden away and stuff. There's this sort of false sense of sort of like this, I don't know what the word is, like just this pillar of success and stuff. But when you have some YouTuber who's uploading a 5-minute vlog who's actually making more money than them on a daily basis, but they're just being themselves, and that's because it's a new age of like, and that's not saying all those.
See, the reality is that Leonardo DiCaprio probably owns a share in the company with the T-shirt, and the vlogger as well, or you know, an Instagrammer. They've put so much work into getting their numbers up. Like it's just really hard to get organic growth on social media because a lot of them buy followers from China. But if you look at an Instagrammer that has 80,000 followers and they're only getting 35 likes, you know they're all bought from bots.
And they do all this like following thousands of people to get that.
To get it back,
If you look closely, you can feel when it's real and not.
But for somebody like me, I would run them all through Switchblade, and that tells you.
Oh, what's that? I've never heard of that. That's cool. It's just an app, and you put in the Instagram name and it'll tell you their authenticity and where their followers are coming from. Is that like a free app, a website?
Yeah. So if you put in, say, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio, say, if he was an influencer, you could put in his handle and it'll throw back.
They show you their demographic, like their demographic.
They'll show you where their followers are coming from. Yeah, so you'd see an Irish influencer, and I'd put her through Social Blade, and if 55% of them are from China, you know they're bought. Or India, those kind of countries, you know that she doesn't have a following there. So they're the ones that you stay away from, because for me, I would promote my brands through influencers, and if you're going to pay an influencer, you want to make sure that they have the ability to have the followers to buy your product rather than just numbers for the sake of it.
100%. The numbers can mean like nothing. Like you could get in 10. it's so different. It's a case by case basis where it's not like people. I think like you know yourself. If it is, it's not just like you wouldn't just look at someone and say, oh, they have 100 million, let's get them to promote, or sorry, they have 100,000 followers, let's get them to promote our thing. But like, because you could find someone with 10,000 followers who'll probably sell more t-shirts as well. It's such a case by case.
But also, say for example, if it's whacked, right, and you're selling your skateboard
whacked
t-shirts,
well,
you're not interested in somebody with 100,000 followers whose followers are only interested in skincare, because that's what that influencer is talking about.
Exactly.
He'd actually be much better off having 5,000 followers of young men aged between 18 and 35 who skateboard. And that's the beauty of Instagrammers, because they are niche and that they are very aware. And magazines and newspapers don't have that ability. They have, first of all, to provide news content, and they're much more, they can only have 40% advertising. Like, they have a lot of strictures that an influencer doesn't have. Or
and is there a conversion rate? So say we get this influencer with the streetwear.
Yeah.
He's got 5,000 followers. Do you know how many t-shirts he'll sell off of that 5,000?
No, because it's too new. Okay. And also, like,
you can guess based on if they've done it before. You probably ask for their numbers, would you?
Well, no, you do things like affiliate, where you would give them 10%. So then that's in their interest to push the sales up.
Yeah.
Or also you time it that it would go out like 9 o'clock. The big times for selling are between 8:30, like say 8:30 and 9 in the morning, and 9 and 10 at night. They're the big selling times, because that's when women sit down with their iPad. The kids have gone to bed and they start to shop. So if you go between 9 and 10 at night, and you've say a deal with an influencer that he's going to talk about whacked, and if you don't get if you don't get the sales,
Instagram
the instant sales, then you just probably would go with somebody else the next time. There's so many of them, and but
what kind of advice would you give? Like, if somebody, it's not a very easy area to get into, like PR and the kind of thing that you do. What advice would you give someone, like, if they were interested in getting into it? Because college degrees are sort of not what they once were. And work experience and other routes and that. Yeah. What would you suggest to people?
I mean, they probably would need to do some kind of a college thing, marketing or whatever. But I think it's the same for every business. I think if I had to give skills to my children, it would be curiosity about the world and open to new things. Yeah. Because then you'll sort of go, oh, I wonder what's happening over there, and let's see this and try this, and would this work? And now they're doing this. Like, I'm constantly reading and not even highbrow stuff now, just what's happening in America. And like, if I go to any country for my holidays, I'll always go into the shops and see what are they promoting and what's going, so I'm curious. And also you're open to trying new things. Like, when I was starting off first, I worked with this fashion photographer, and he was obnoxious, absolutely obnoxious to everybody, to the model. I'd have to take him out halfway to, I'm sorry, you cannot talk to her like that. You just can't.
What was his name?
Yeah. And that was his name. And then, I remember saying to him he was the only fashion photographer in Dublin. I remember saying to him, there's this new digital photography and it's coming in. You don't have to take like 10 Polaroids before every shot. It'll speed things up. And he said, look, Barbara, I am the fashion photographer in Dublin, and people work with me because there's nobody else. So if I say no digital, there is no digital. So you can see what happened. Yeah. So a guy moved into Ireland from actually Brazil. He got all the business. Your man had to retire at 42, and he's probably my age now, and he hasn't worked in 12 or 15 years. So you have to be open to new stuff. And I don't think that's even particular to PR, but probably more to PR because it changes. But
it's constantly evolving.
I think if you're like that, you're curious, because I certainly never planned anything in my career. I really didn't. Like, I never planned on being on TV3. I just asked and went with it.
That's cool. Ask. That's one I probably say. So like, just don't be afraid to ask.
Just
see where that. I like
that. Just go with it. When people say, do you want to do this? Go, I might learn something. And then, the foreign shoots, that was all. Let's see how this would work out. And it did work out. Lots of things I tried didn't work out. But that's just, you learn from it and you kind of move on. Yeah. So it's really, it's common sense. And, I'd be the first to say, I'm not that bright or anything. I just curious and interested in things,
I love that. Those two things, they're like they're like a good formula, like the curiosity in the world and looking for new things, or the two things. Yeah,
open
and
to new things.
if it's an area that you're naturally interested in anyway.
Yeah,
you know, you're automatically kind of curious and open, and you know, you're pushing yourself towards new stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And why do people do what they do? Why do they buy? And why do they?
Yeah.
Why do they go to this shop? And like, I'd even go into shops like Brown Thomas, and you'd be looking around and saying, God, you know, that person, why are they here? And why do they buy this? And why are they going down here? And
I did loads of study in cultural theory as part of a master's. It was the most fascinating bit of study I ever did, like philosophy and cultural theory, because it's all about why do people do what they do.
And it's not the obvious thing.
No.
Like we're so led by different things, like emotions, value, history. You know, it's rather not. And you're here putting out an ad saying, this is reduced by 20%, and maybe people don't care about that at all. Do you know? And an interesting thing this year has been the huge move to buy local and buy Irish, which is fantastic. I'd love to see independent retailer coming back stronger. I love to see a good shop in a town. And actually, you know, when I was in Thurles earlier today, like, God, there was great shops here when I was a kid, and there still are really good retailers. But, you know, I'd love to see more independent retailers around the town and more fashion shops. There was much more fashion shops when I was a child than there is now.
I was in Boyles during the week. It's looking fabulous.
Great shop.
Boyles renovated the back, and they've done all this kind of Dubarry section or whatever. It looks amazing.
Brilliant.
It's really, that stuff's really cool.
Grace's Le Chateau. there's great shops, and you know, you go in and it's a lovely thing to go in, and they'd say, how are you, you know, and shoot the breeze, and there's no real pressure to buy. Like it's a great independent thing. And like, do you remember Dempsey's when I was a kid? I hope somebody kept the indoors.
I know the building.
Frank Roach's, that's brilliant still there. That's great shop, you know.
I love going into Frank. I buy all my screws and my nuts and bolts in Frank Roach's, because it's like going into a pick and mix. Like, except you're getting different bolts and nuts.
And you see things you didn't know you needed.
Exactly.
And yet you do when you go in there.
That's so true.
Like
a bin,
We're going to crowdfund for you for a bin.
We'll finish up now. Sorry for the inconvenience thing that happened. It probably wasn't much of an inconvenience for you watching, because it was only a second, but it was for us. But yeah, so actually, you're the person who wanted to apologise, so sorry for that, because it doesn't actually normally happen.
Not at all.
Thanks a
I've
million.
enjoyed. Not at all.
You were doing a shout out there somewhere.
I wasn't going to do that as well, but thanks a million for coming on.
I just have one question. How can I become a model?
You wouldn't want to be a model.
What? I'm 5'2". Come on.
So see this? Oh shit! This is. Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah, you can.
Upside down.
Go to the other camera.
No, it's perfect.
It's not upside down.
It works in all directions.
Which camera is that on? There's. We have this chart. That's. We have this chart. Can't hear myself. That's. Well, you can see it anyway. Anyway, there's a chart that will stick it up, and so we're trying to raise €2,500 so that we can buy loads of new equipment, and that we can get the audio to the best audio, literally the best audio for a podcast in Ireland, and that would be. I can't tell you why, because I don't know all the production stuff, but that is true apparently. So we're going,
isn't it?
Yeah, in the whole wide world. But anyway, so thanks a million to Paul Kilroy, who's actually donated €100, and Paul has he donated €100.
Sound Paul, thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul.
So
I used to shop in your granddad's shop. That's where we
go
for all our Santi stuff.
Do
you remember?
The best toy shop in Thurles,
wasn't it? Oh, it really was. Yeah,
that's
the
mad.
excitement of it. Do you remember?
I do. I found a picture of it there lately. Yeah. Actually, that's the picture up there now. See the picture?
Yeah.
You'll have to send that to Owen.
Yeah, that's
there. It is.
Yeah,
there it is.
There's the picture
Owen's
of the shop.
putting up the picture. Thanks, Owen.
That's Kilroy's shop.
It's actually going to be me doing this.
You go between Boyles and Kilroy's for all your Christmas, for your Santi stuff.
Sound to Paul of the Kilroy clan.
Yeah, thanks a million, Paul, for that donation. And to be honest, like, we don't have any sell for the donation, because he just knows you. So I suppose if you want to donate, if you meet Hugh uptown,
throw €100 into his pocket.
Because I won't be around.
He'd be like a lap dancer going around the town.
He has been. Terrible. See what you missed.
You can send it by pigeon or something. I'm not sure. I'm sure the money will come to be somehow.
To see Michael, who's our head of production.
This guy.
He's also taking donations.
His little knitted jacket.
Head of production.
Yeah.
Or Radic, if you see Radic.
Yeah, Radic. See any, if you see any.
Or me, if you see me, actually, 500 quid.
If you see anyone uptown, just give the money. Anyone.
Anybody at all. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thanks. It was great. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, lads, for doing the camera stuff there, and Radic. And bye. See you See you Friday for where we're going to do another Friday food thing.
The Friday feed.
The Friday feed.
Are you talking about the Friday feed?
Yeah, the Friday feed. Sorry, you keep up with all these names. And I think you like those episodes. They're fun. They're short, 25 minutes, and see you there.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.